Keep the hair out of my eyes, don't need that. Too aggressive, don't need that. Hi guys, it's Rob from Royal Balls. I've got a long video for you today. We're going to look at my double het Desert Ghost Clown project. We've got an awesome clutch of double hets that just hatched. Before we do that, we're going to look at the genes concerned in some of my clowns. It gives me an excuse to look at some awesome clowns and you guys to look at some of the genes that we're going to be trying to identify in our double hets. The project itself is trying to get these genes into clowns and making them desert ghosts, so it is worthwhile taking a look at what we might be trying to achieve. And as I was editing this video, I wanted to showcase the leopard gene, and this clutch is a perfect way to showcase leopard. But as I edited the video, I realized it's also a perfect showcase for vanilla and what vanilla does. So anybody that's working with the leopard gene or anybody that is interested in the vanilla gene, this video might be for you. It is long, it's over 40 minutes, so I'll get it out tonight on a Friday, and if you guys need to have a marathon session or split it into 2 videos and watch one today, one tomorrow, the weekend's a perfect opportunity to do that. So let's get after it. Before we get into this leopard clutch, I want to show you the genes that are at play in the clutch, and that is primarily pastel and vanilla, and we're going to see how that affects leopard. But I want to show you first how these genes affect clown, but we can use some of what we see in our clowns to guide us to what's going to happen with leopard. So this is a straight clown, there is nothing in there. It's a particularly nice clown. It has very high definition, it has an almost continuous dorsal stripe with just one break in the dorsal here, and it has very regular alien heads. That's what I'd be looking for in a nice quality clown. So this is straight clown. What happens to our clown when we add pastel? Pastel is a brightening gene, it's quite yellow. Here is a pastel clown next to the straight clown, and you can see that this guy is much yellower. If we look at the head stamp on this shy guy, you'll see that the head stamp is also yellow, quite blushed compared to the standard clown, and you will also see this clown has white lips. We're going to see that again in all of our pastels. Pastel tends to have a blushed head stamp and white lips. So this is clown and pastel clown. Let's take a look at a vanilla clown. If I can get these things to stay still. I'll put both of these guys in a tub. They're both males, so I'll have to watch that they don't start to fight. And we will compare that to a vanilla clown. And you can see the vanilla clown looks very similar to the others in terms of pattern, but it has a much softer, lighter colour. And the head stamp, if we have a look at the head stamp, you see the arrowhead at the back of the head. That screams vanilla. Vanilla has a lightening effect on all our morphs. So we have straight clown, we have clown with pastel, which is the yellow one, and we have clown with vanilla, which is the soft, normal looking clown. Does not affect the pattern, but has a much softer, lighter colour. So clown, pastel clown, vanilla clown, and we're getting quite a big pile of snakes here. So let's combine all those together and make a pastel vanilla clown. And this is the mother for the clutch, but you can see that she has the yellow colour of the pastel. She has the white blushed head from pastel and vanilla, and she has a really nice soft ice cream like yellow colour. The pattern is not affected. She is a standard clown, easily recognisable as a clown, but you can now see that she's lighter coloured and she's yellow. That's pastel vanilla combined. So we have 4 snakes here. This one at the bottom is the standard clown. This one is the pastel clown, the bright yellow one. This one is the vanilla clown, the soft vanilla-y coloured snake. And this one is pastel vanilla, soft yellow, a combination of all those genes with a soft yellow colour and still quite a strong pattern. This is the mother for the clutch we're about to look at. This girl here is obviously another example of pastel vanilla clown. It's obviously clown, it's yellow and it's creamy coloured. Mum is the snake you just saw, and this is a snake that I produced last year from her. So this is pastel vanilla clown. She's still quite young, but this one is also a very nice pastel vanilla clown, very high contrast. She's retaining her colour very well, and I think she's going to end up being even nicer than Mum, which is why she's still here. So again, we have 4 snakes. We have standard clown, we have pastel clown, we have vanilla clown, and we have pastel vanilla clown. And let's just have a look at the pastel vanilla head. This girl is actually going slightly into shed. She's a little bit pink, but again you can see the very white carved from marble head, which pastel vanilla tends to do. She has white lips from the pastel, but the head stamp pastel vanilla is very distinctive, very white, very blushed and carved from marble. Now, just out of interest, let's see what leopard does when you add it to clown. This is a leopard clown. Bang! We have a classic leopard clown head stamp. We have a very strong and dark dorsal, and we have a very strong horizontal pattern. Leopard tends to have these dots down the side. It breaks up the pattern completely. Leopard is a very strong pattern influencer, but you see how the dots are all lined up horizontally. So when we put leopard into the mix in this clown combo, we're looking for horizontal elements, and you're going to see that again when we look at these leopard combos which are not clown. That is one of the distinguishing features of leopard. So here we've got 5 snakes now. We have a standard clown. Woo. We have a standard clown. We have the pastel clown. We have the vanilla clown. We have the pastel vanilla clown. And we have the leopard clown, the most distinctive of the lot. Okay, so as ever, we start with the parents for the clutch. This is pastel vanilla clown. Because this is a visual clown, that takes care of the het for clown side of things. We're using a visual clown, so all the babies are going to be het for clown. This guy here is a leopard lemon blast desert ghost. He's a visual desert ghost, which takes care of the desert ghost side of things. So because he is a visual desert ghost, all the babies will be 100% het for desert ghost. So this takes the guesswork out of the project. By using a visual clown to a visual desert ghost, everything is guaranteed to be double het. There is no guesswork as to which of the babies are carrying het and which of the babies are not. And this project is far too valuable, with it being a desert ghost clown project, to be taking a risk on possible odds and pairing up the wrong snakes. So here's Dad. He is pinstripe, he is pastel, and he is leopard, as well as desert ghost. And here is Mum. She is pastel and vanilla. So the genes at play are a copy of pastel in Dad and a copy of pastel in Mum. So there is the potential that we can get super pastels in this clutch. There's a copy of vanilla in Mum. There is a copy of leopard in Dad and a copy of pinstripe in Dad. So in total we have 2 copies of pastel, 1 copy of vanilla, 1 copy of leopard, and 1 copy of Pinstripe. So we always start with what the parents are, what the possible genetic combinations are, and what the possible outcomes would be. So these are the parents. This is the starting point for our theoretical IDs. We know what genes we are going to expect. We're not going to see clowns or desert ghosts because all the babies are hets. There's going to be no visual, so we don't need to worry about that side of things. They're all going to be double hets. The only thing we need to worry about is identifying pastel, super pastel, leopard, vanilla and pinstripe. So let's have a look at this awesome clutch. Okay guys, so here is the clutch. I was just waiting for the last one to shed out, and a quick peek inside here shows some quite distinctive snakes, but a bunch of leopard combos. I'm going to take this opportunity to walk you through my IDs, and we're going to compare some of these snakes to a previous clutch from the same male. And I used a pastel clown rather than a pastel vanilla clown for the previous clutch. So we have a clutch of babies that have no vanilla in them, which should help us to see what the difference vanilla makes. I can already see from looking at these babies which ones have vanilla in them, and I'm going to walk you through that, but we're going to compare what I see versus a previous clutch that does not have vanilla. I have a box with the lid on this time so that I don't end up with snakes going everywhere, that I can put the snakes into when we're done looking at them. Okay, let me just give you a close-up here before we start picking out snakes and identifying them. So here is the whole clutch, and I think the leopard combos down here are quite obvious. It's these very busy patterned. Leopard is very, very distinctive, particularly in this clutch, which makes our job very easy. But we're going to walk through it one snake at a time. So let's start off with this guy here. This one is quite distinctive from the rest. This is obviously pinstripe, but not just pinstripe, there is pastel in there. You can see that the head is blushed, the snake is lighter than normal, and it also has the white lips, characteristic of pastel. But I think you can also see this lovely soft dorsal stripe here, this very creamy coloured stripe, and the head is quite white compared to what you would expect from just a lemon blast. So I am saying that this is a vanilla lemon blast, and it's vanilla that is giving us the white head and the very soft dorsal stripe. Let's have a look at a lemon blast from the previous clutch that does not have vanilla in it so that you can see the difference. Obviously this one is a little larger, but if we have a look at the head, you can see the head stamp on this guy is just pastel. It has the white lips, you can see there, but the head is nowhere near as blushed as this guy, so we can already see that there's something extra in this new one. And you can also see that the dorsal stripe is nowhere near as bright as on this new guy, so there's definitely something extra in this new guy. But there is the possibility, let me just put this one away now so that we've compared it to our lemon blast. One of the other possibilities in this clutch is that this could be a killer blast or super pastel pinstripe. I don't think it is, because a killer blast would start to lose some of the distinctive pinstripe pattern. Pastel is a very strong pattern influencer, and this still has a very clear and obvious pinstripe pattern. So I don't think that this is super pastel, because here we have an example of a killer blast from the previous clutch. This has to be super pastel pinstripe because there's no vanilla in the clutch, and you can see the head is very blushed, but the vanilla still has quite a white head stamp. But you will see that our killer blast or super pastel pinstripe has a very broken pattern compared to this pastel vanilla pinstripe. So that's what a killer blast looks like, and that's why this is not a killer blast. This is a vanilla lemon blast. So let's remove this one, put it into our box over here. Now, the leopards are very easy to pick out, but we have two snakes here which are not leopard. Okay, that's these two guys here. Clearly the pattern is not leopard. We have one bright orange one here, which is a really nice one, and if we look at the head is blushed, and we have white lips. So this one is a straight pastel, just one copy of the pastel gene, whereas this guy here, this nice bright one, has clearly got something else in it. So this has either vanilla or another dose of pastel, or it could even be super pastel vanilla. There's obviously something extra making this snake very bright. So let's take a look at this one in a little more detail, and let's compare it to this guy here. This guy here is, if I can just show you the head, quite a blushed head. This is a super pastel without vanilla. Two doses of pastel, and you can see that the pattern is quite busy, but compared to this one has a whiter head, and this one has a much more regular pattern and brighter dorsal stripe. So I know this one has vanilla in it. The head has that classic carved from marble look, so the only thing that we need to distinguish here is whether this guy is pastel vanilla or super pastel vanilla, and the disruption of the pattern and the washed out colour that I would have expected to see from two copies of pastel is just not there. I'm saying this is pastel vanilla. Het Desert Ghost, Het Clown. Just so that you have no doubt about the difference from the previous clutch, this is super pastel, this is single copy of pastel, and I think the difference there is obvious. The homozygous form of pastel, the super pastel, is a much lighter animal with a much more well-defined pattern. The single copy of pastel is quite an irregular patterned snake. So here is pastel versus super pastel. These guys, little lesson in snake body language. You see how both of these guys are hiding their heads. This is a defensive response. This is stress. My snakes are not happy with me filming them, and we should be cognizant of that. These snakes are actually getting a little bit nervous, and what I'm doing right here is stressing them out. I need to do it for the purposes of the video, but as soon as I've finished with this video, these snakes will go back into their tubs and I'll leave them well alone. So if I can just get these guys to show you their heads, they don't want to. And we can compare the head stamp. This guy here has the much lighter head stamp compared to this guy here. They both have the white lips of pastel, but one of them has a much more blushed head than the other one. Okay, so we've got pastel, we've got super pastel, and now I think the difference becomes obvious. This guy here has a much softer colour. The head is actually more blushed, so there is no doubt at all that this guy has vanilla. And if you look at the pattern, vanilla tends to make the pattern much more regular. I always say that vanilla makes your snake look like what you think it should look like. Adding vanilla does not really influence the pattern or do anything dramatic. It just makes the snake look nicer, and it's often difficult to pin down why it looks nicer. So this one is Pastel Vanilla, and I think you can see that that is quite obvious when you compare it to the others. So let me put these away, which leaves us with these 5 guys, and they are all clearly, I say clearly, I'm going to walk you through why that's clear, they're all clearly leopards. But not just leopards, we've got all sorts of different combinations in here. We've got this white one, we've got this really bright looking one here, we've got this dull one that's trying to climb out of the tub, we've got this guy here which looks a little bit brighter than the others. So we have all sorts of different variations here, and actually all 5 of these snakes, although they're leopard, are different. They have different genetic combinations, and you can see each of the genes that are at play here. So we know there's leopard, we know there's pastel, we know there is super pastel, and we know there is vanilla. So we have to sort out what combination of those genes are in these guys. They're obviously not pinstripe, so we can discard that, but the other genes are all still at play. So what I'm going to do here is to see if I can point this out to you. There is one snake here which is darker than all the others. This is our base morph leopard. If I pick the darkest one, because I know the other combinations of genes are actually brightening genes, vanilla brightens and so does pastel. If I pick the darkest one, the chances are that's going to be a straight leopard. So let's pick the darkest one. Okay, this is our straight leopard. What makes a leopard a leopard? Why do I say this is leopard? How do I know this is leopard? Just from looking at it. Well, what we're looking for in leopard is these horizontal extensions. You see how the alien heads here are drawn out in a horizontal pattern, and the reason that I showed you the clown combo with leopard in it before was so that you could see how leopard is a very, very strong pattern influencer with a strong horizontal element. It's not always obvious in the base morph. So what other characteristics am I looking for that tells me this is leopard? Okay, let's look at the head stamp. This is always a feature of leopard. Can you see that dot on the head? There is a little cap that this guy is wearing that has a dot in the middle. It's actually quite dark. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. Get the camera to focus. So there is the leopard head stamp with the dot in the middle. Very, very characteristic of leopard. And the head stamp is quite dark, but there is a small amount of character to that head stamp. You see the dot there on the head stamp? That is leopard. That's what you want to look for in your leopard combos. No white lips on this guy, so we know that it's not pastel. If we look at the belly, here is another classic feature of leopard that the other morphs do not have. We've got this lovely checkerboard belly, and this zipper in the middle here. You see that line going down the middle of the belly? That is quite characteristic of leopard. Some other morphs do have checkered bellies, but none of them have the zipper. So this is our basic leopard, and you can see the pattern now has these very, very distinctive horizontal elements to it. You see the dorsal there has the horizontal elements, the stretched out alien heads, but otherwise, in terms of pattern, leopard can sometimes be quite unspectacular. So this is a dark morph. This is a snake with a dot on the head, and it's a snake with a checkered or zippered pattern on the belly. And of course it would be remiss of me if I didn't show you the base leopard from the previous clutch, the one that does not have vanilla, but you can see now the remarkable similarities between these two guys. Again, he's hiding his head. Another great sign that we're stressing them out. So if you look at the head stamps on these two guys, you can see the dot on the head. This is classic leopard. And also this guy here is starting to show Look at that pattern, guys. That's leopard all day long. That extension of the alien heads and the nice crisp dorsal. So this is a straight leopard from the previous clutch compared to the straight leopard from this clutch. This guy is actually slightly darker. This is a really nice one. But these are both straight leopard. And again, if we check out the belly, we have the classic checkered belly of a leopard. Very distinctive. There's no mistaking this guy as a leopard compared to a normal. But here's an example from a different clutch which is not quite so obvious. And in fact the pattern on this guy, when you compare it to this one on the top is very obviously leopard. That's easy to see. This guy does not really have any clear indication. There you can see it in the tail, but there's no clear indication that this guy is actually leopard. How do I know that it's leopard? What am I using in this low expression leopard to tell me that this is leopard? First of all, the belly. There is no mistaking the belly. This is quite clearly leopard. And the head stamp, also quite clearly leopard. So these are all markers that you can use when it's less clear what the animal might be. This guy here is much darker than a normal, and you can actually now start to see some of the horizontal elements in here now that we've identified this positively as leopard. But you can see that it's not always easy in the base morph. They are a dark morph, and this is a dark snake, which gives you some sort of hint as to what it might be. But the head stamp with the dot and the belly with the checkered zippered belly is a dead giveaway. This is a straight leopard, although from the pattern you might be a little confused. So let's bring back the whole clutch and start to try and decide what we've got here. This guy here, if we pick him out and compare him to our base, this is our base morph leopard here. This is the one that we said had nothing in it. Compare it to this one and you'll see that this one, the one on this side here, is brighter. Look at the head stamp on that compared to each other, and the brightness of the animal. No pattern modification on this one. It's still quite clearly a leopard pattern. It hasn't actually changed much from the base morph, but we can see from the head that it's different. So these two guys here, neither of them have pastel, but the bright one with the bright head stamp clearly has something else, and that can only be vanilla. It's not pastel because they don't have white lips. It's not blushed enough. So here we have a straight leopard and a leopard vanilla. So I'm hoping, guys, that the camera is picking up the difference. This is the vanilla on this side. These snakes are getting very squirrely now. Alright guys, this is 2 hours later, and here are the 5 leopards, and you can see that they have settled back down again now. They do what hatchlings do for protection. They cluster together. So we're going to start filming again and see how long we can push it this time. Sorry guys, you're going to have to bear with me here. So these are the two snakes that we looked at before. On the right is the vanilla with a nice head stamp, and on the left is our base morph leopard. So we've got leopard, we've got leopard vanilla. The other combination that we can get is this guy here. This is Leopard Pastel. You can see the white lips, you can see the blushed head stamp, and you can see the colour progression here from these three. This is our Leopard, this is our Leopard Vanilla, and this is our Leopard Pastel. And you can see this is quite a nice one here. The horizontal elements of the pattern that I was talking about are very, very distinct on this guy. So let's focus in on the Pastel Leopard. You will see that the head stamp now has lost the dot. There is still quite a distinctive head stamp, but it has lost the dot. And surprise, surprise, Pastel wipes out all the belly markers of Leopard. Fortunately for us, there's no mistaking the Leopard pattern in this guy. So this is Pastel Leopard. And we have another snake here, which is even brighter still. If we look at the head stamp, you will see that it's much whiter than this guy, and this is not super pastel because it's not washed out enough. In fact, it's a nicer version of the pastel, and we already know that vanilla makes your snake look like what you think it should look like. This is Pastel Vanilla, obviously Pastel Vanilla. The head is nowhere near as blushed as it would be if this was super pastel, and there is no white blushing along the top of the dorsal in this leopard. So this is Pastel Leopard, this is Pastel Vanilla Leopard, which means the final snake here, which I thought at first when it first came out of the egg, you can see now these snakes in the background here starting to get a little bit squirrely again. They're already unsettled. They've woken up. They're not clumping together in a ball. They're actually starting to get stressed again. So the bright snake on the right, which when it first hatched I thought was possibly Pastel Vanilla Leopard, clearly is not Pastel Vanilla Leopard, because this guy is Pastel Vanilla Leopard. We've seen that in the progression of head stamps and colours in the rest of the clutch. So this guy here with his carved from marble head stamp must be Super Pastel Vanilla. That's the only combination that we have left. We know that we have vanilla, we know that we have the possibility of Super Pastel. So this is Super Pastel Vanilla Leopard. Now let's look at the head stamp on this and go back to the snake that was Pastel Vanilla or Super Pastel Vanilla, and you can see from the head stamp now why I'm saying that this is just Pastel Vanilla and not Super Pastel. The Super Pastel head stamp is much whiter, much more distinctive. So this guy has actually helped me to confirm the identification of the previous snake where we weren't quite sure whether it was Pastel Vanilla or Super Pastel Vanilla. Okay, so while we're trying to identify this clutch, I do happen to have a Super Pastel Vanilla and a Pastel Vanilla. Let me just zoom out a little bit. And these are actually from the same female last season, so again they're not thrilled about being filmed. Let me just put them in a tub to keep them a little bit under control. So Pastel Vanilla has the Pastel Vanilla head stamp, not too white, but you can see Pastel Vanilla in there and the soft vanilla-y colours. The Super Pastel, of course, has the carved from marble head stamp. Let me just see if I can get the comparison side by side for you. You can see the two head stamps there side by side. It's obvious the difference between the Pastel Vanilla and the Super Pastel Vanilla. So fortunately for us, again, it would appear that I have a comparison for everything here. This is from the clutch that we're trying to identify, Pastel Vanilla or Super Pastel Vanilla. And if we look at the head stamps, you will see that the Pastel Vanilla matches the baby much better than the Super Pastel Vanilla. This head stamp on the baby will get slightly darker as it gets older, but I think you can also see from the coloration of the snake that this one matches the slightly darker one a lot better than it matches the slightly lighter one. So again, I think we have confirmation that this is pastel vanilla and not super pastel vanilla. Isn't it great when you've got snakes to compare everything to? And these are actually from the same female, which is also important because the quality or the pattern of the snakes that she throws are reflected in these two and this one. So it's the same female, so it's a very good comparison to make. Now while we're at it, this is the Pinstripe and it's a vanilla lemon blast. Pinstripe is a dominant gene. It does have a superform, but the superform looks exactly the same as the single gene. All genes actually have a superform. In the case of Spider and Champagne, they're lethal, so we never get to see them. But the dominant genes do actually have a superform that looks no different to the heterozygous form. Pinstripe being an example. Pinstripe is such a strong pattern influencer that one copy is sufficient to bring out the full visual expression of Pinstripe. So I thought I'd show you what Leopard can do to Pinstripe. Pinstripe is a gene that is so powerful that it's usually expressed in every single morph that it appears in. You can recognize Pinstripe immediately. So here we go. From the previous clutch now, we have a straight Lemon Blast pastel Pinstripe, and again a very, very characteristic pattern. There's no mistaking Pinstripe. This one is a little bit darker than the previous one, and the head stamp you'll see is not as blushed, but this is Pinstripe. So what do we expect that Leopard is going to do to Pinstripe? We've already played join the dots with Leopard, and we've seen how Leopard makes everything line up. So what would we expect a Leopard Lemon Blast to look like? And yes, you are absolutely correct. We can still see the Pinstripe pattern, but you can see what a powerful influence Leopard has had. So Leopard has actually now joined the dots for us. Everything lines up along the flanks of the snake, even in the Pinstripe. So that is Leopard Lemon Blast compared to a straight Lemon Blast. You'll see that the pattern is modified by Leopard in exactly the way that we would have expected it to modify Pinstripe. A Leopard is powerful enough even to have an expression when you're working with a dominant gene such as Pinstripe. It still can influence the pattern, which I think is awesome. Leopard is so flexible. It seems to express itself in any combinations, and it's powerful enough to have an expression with dominant genes, and it's not so overpowering that it completely modifies other morphs in which Leopard appears. It's an awesome gene to work with. And finally guys, this is why we want to Desert Ghost everything. This is Dad. He is a Leopard Lemon Blast Desert Ghost. Both Leopard Lemon Blasts, one visual for Desert Ghost and one het for Desert Ghost. Now you know why we want to put Desert Ghost into everything. This is Leopard Lemon Blast. This is Leopard Lemon Blast Desert Ghost. And I think you will agree that this guy here kicks it up into a whole different level of brightness and cleanliness. That's why we want to put Desert Ghost into this clown project. This is a double recessive project, so we're trying to get Desert Ghost into our clowns. So there you go, Leopard Lemon Blast. One is Desert Ghost, one is het for Desert Ghost. This is the pick of the clutch, the Super Pastel Vanilla, and this is a male. This is going to be really useful. So let's just zoom out a little bit here and you can see the progression. Let's walk you through. This is our Leopard. This is our Vanilla Leopard. This is our Pastel Leopard. This is our Pastel Vanilla Leopard. So we've got Vanilla, we've got Pastel, and we've got Pastel Vanilla. And we have Pastel Vanilla and Super Pastel Vanilla. You can see how strong the Super Pastel is in combination with Leopard, we get a completely different coloured snake, but we can see that it is vanilla because we still have that nice vanilla-y yellow colour in the pattern. So whilst these snakes are still not quite freaking out completely, let's do the same thing again from the previous clutch. Here is Pastel Leopard, and here is the new Pastel Leopard. They are identical. These guys are hiding their heads again, unfortunately, but you can see exactly the same head stamp, you can see exactly the same horizontal patterns here. That is awesome. So we've got two identical snakes here, both Pastel Leopard and Pastel Vanilla. Leopard amps up the colours by 1 notch. Super Pastel Vanilla, which amps it up even more. Again, you can see how squirrely these snakes are getting now. They're in flight mode. They just want to go back in their tub, so let's oblige them. And what I want to do here is, this is the Pastel Leopard from the previous clutch, which is double het for Desert Ghost and Clown. I'm going to compare that to a Pastel Leopard which is not het for Desert Ghost or Clown. So here we go, side by side. This is the double het Desert Ghost Clown Pastel Leopard, and this is a non-het Pastel Leopard. This is a female and it's a whole back, and I've kept it back because it's a really nice one, and you can see how thrilled she is about being filmed. Let me see if I can just get her to show us her head briefly so that we can compare the head stamps on these guys. So briefly there guys, the head stamp on the non-het, the head stamp on the double het. I think you can see that these are identical snakes, but the influence of the het is also showing through. This is a really nice bright snake. This one is also extremely nice, very, very shy and not very photogenic at the moment. But that's just an illustration of how very, very similar the pattern of these guys are, but you would still be able to pick out the double het. This is the brighter one. Awesome. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.